Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to hop into the past. We're not going to go particularly distantly into the past. Going into the past isn't something that I regularly do on this channel, but it is something that we have done before and I may do more regularly. There are some interesting things that have happened in the past. The one I am looking for in particular here is a particular comet, Comet 1P Halley. So Comet 1P Halley is one of the most famous comets ever to have come through the solar system. It's one of the best known comets, and it is Comet 1P Halley. It's the first of these comets to ever have been discovered. We've gone back to the year 1986, which is the last time Comet 1P Halley was close to the sun, so we're going to see if we can get a better view of it. It doesn't look like it's in a great position to be seen from here in Ireland, so we'll have to move back a little bit. Here we go. So this is Comet 1P Halley, and it looks like, yeah, it doesn't seem like we're getting a tail here. I've spoken a lot about comets recently. Now that's interesting. I've spoken a lot about comets recently, particularly with the Interstellar comet coming through the solar system. Here we've got two separate options for Halley's comet, both pointing in slightly different directions. They're both Comet 1P Halley. They're both going to see pretty much the same information down here at the bottom, but Comet 1P Halley, the orbit of the comet can be based on different estimates, and we can see that these two estimates have gone a little bit out of sync here. These two versions of Comet 1P Halley, they are going around the sun at slightly different positions, slightly different speeds, and we can see here because their positions relative to each other are changing. We can see the brightness coming up, and there we go. There they do start developing tails. So this is something that I wanted to check because some of the comets that we took a look at recently did not show any tails. Here, these various versions of Comet Halley are showing loads of tails, which is great. This is really what we want to see when we take a look at a comet. The interstellar comet 3I Atlas seems to have lost its tail. The comet 3I Atlas seemed to have a little bit of a tail for a while, but then that tail seems to have stopped being produced. Of course, Comet 3I Atlas comes from a different solar system, so there is the possibility that its composition is different to the comets that we're used to seeing in our solar system. Of course, comets in our solar system are going to be composed of the same stuff that the rest of our solar system is composed of. So it looks like we've lost their tails again, which is interesting. But Comet 1P Halley is a particularly spectacular comet. It's one of the comets that's visible to the naked eye, which is one of the reasons that it's so popular, that it's so well known. Because it's visible to the naked eye, people have been able to see Comet 1P Halley since long before the invention of telescopes and binoculars. So Comet 1P Halley has been visible and known since ancient times, simply because people have been able to see it since ancient times. So yeah, it looks like we're coming back around the Perihelion here when it's at its closest position to the sun, because they're very, very bright. It looks like the tails are coming up a little bit further from the sun in the sky than I would expect, but we can see here that the comets are kind of going around the sun here. Their tails seem to be pretty much at their best just around here as the comets make their perihelion, there we go, and then stretch out the other side. So there's definitely tails visible here with the atmosphere and the ground and everything taken away. Let's bring them back and see what we can see. Yep, visible to the naked eye, just about, but just about visible there to the naked eye, pretty close to the sun in the sky. And of course, these look a little bit different to how they'd look in the real sky, because there's two of them. There's not actually two Halley's comets, there's only one Halley's comet. So we're only going to see one and one tail as it goes around the sun, but it's clearly visible here to the naked eye, very similar to how the stars or the planets would be visible, and we can see the comet as it comes in and picks up those tails. So that is Halley's comet. Halley's comet comes around very rarely, and we have already taken a look into the future to see the comet come back around in the 2060s. But when we looked at the future Halley's Comet, it didn't produce a tail. Now we're looking at Halley's Comet in the past. The last time we know it came around in 1986. The last time it came into the solar system, it was very thoroughly observed, and it is showing a tail here. So this does lead me to believe that there might be some issue with Stellarium showing the tails of these things if their orbital parameters aren't fully known or fully understood. We're still back in time, but of course much less far back in time. We're just looking back here at 2023 because there is a much shorter period comet that I've also mentioned recently, Comet 2P Encke. Hopefully it will come up. Of course, there is plenty of numbers of comets with 2 in them, so we're seeing a lot of different options here, 42, 11, 302, but I'm not seeing Comet 2P Encke itself, which is a little bit of a surprise because it is one of the big famous comets. Comet 2P Encke, there we go, coming up as P Encke instead. Comet 2P Encke is one of the very short period comets, so it comes through the solar system every couple of decades, but it doesn't seem like the most recent pass is here. It's showing the 1961 pass, even though the comet was, and here we can see it just next to the sun, the comet did come through the inner solar system just back in 2023, and it will come through the inner solar system again in just 2027 because the period of this comet is so short. But we can see here these elements are for the epoch 1961, but we're looking at it for 2023, so we're not seeing a tail or a dot here, even though it's only magnitude 8 brighter than most of the comets we're able to actually see in the sky at the moment, like Comet F2 and R2 Swan and Comet A6 Lemon. Just to be fair, to be fair to the comet, we'll go back to 1961, even further into the past than our viewing of Halley's Comet, and we will do the same thing. We'll get rid of the ground, we'll watch this comet make its closest approach to the sun, and then we'll see if it develops a tail, if it becomes more visible, which we would expect, especially if we're looking at the comet for the time period that the data was collected. And we're definitely getting a dot here, so we're getting something. It's pretty close to the sun, 3 AU from the sun. So because Comet 2P Encke isn't getting particularly close to the sun, there is a chance that it's not going to pick up a tail. We're still getting closer and closer to the sun here, but we're still 3 AU away from it. We'll keep pushing closer and closer. Hopefully the comet will get close enough to the sun for a tail to be generated. But if a comet doesn't get close enough to a star, then there's not going to be enough heat for the tail to be created. The tail of a comet is really the comet losing material as material melts from the heat of the sun and gets sort of blasted out into space by the sun's solar wind. So it looks like we reach a low point there, the lowest number or closest position to the sun, just about 339, so 0.339, 1/3 of an AU, give or take. Doesn't seem like it's showing a tail, but it is magnitude 6, just about what's visible to the naked eye. Of course, from here in Ireland, we're seeing it very close to the horizon, so it will be very difficult for us to see this comet. But just to illustrate, we'll go very close to the equator down here in South America. We will get rid of, or we will bring back the ground and the atmosphere. There we go. And we'll get things so they're just above the horizon, just like this. Still very bright. So Comet 2P Encke, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get a good simulated view of it in 2023 or 2027, simply because that version of the comet isn't updated. But it's there at magnitude 7, reduced to 9, just above the horizon in the 1960s. So Comet 1P Halley is the big famous one, and it's famous for having a big impressive tail. So I'm glad that I could show that tail and actually show what the comet is likely to have looked like, even though when we look forward to the 2060s we couldn't see it. Unfortunately, Comet 2P Encke, or Comet 2P Encke. I usually say Comet 2P Encke, but it really should be Comet 2P Encke. It looks like Comet 2P Encke isn't showing a tail in Stellarium, but for that one we don't have to wait too long. We're only going to have to wait until 2027 before it makes its next closest approach into the inner solar system. So they are a couple of comets. I've been talking a lot about comets recently, so I thought I'd give some historical examples, some examples of comets that I was more confident would show the tail, and thankfully both of the versions of Halley's comet did. So I hope that you enjoyed taking a look at that. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like it. If you like this kind of content, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you'd like to read this information, you can on my website queeveenscontent.ie. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.